Hello, my name is Steve Quenirland. I'm continuing my video with IRONCLADS Ether FLYERS game system, Warship designs, which was this project was inspired by Donald J. Trump's USA President Donald J. Trump's Golden Fleet concept. But I'm using IRONCLADS Ether FLYERS game system, which is an Aeronaval miniatures war game system based on the Space 1889 role-playing game system. I created, in the last video, I finished creating the coastal defense cruisers. So, let's take a look at what I have for, this is game system stuff. Let's see here. Let's take a look at what I got. This is calculation. Design, ship design, okay. Let's review what my Quenirland Naval Force is about. Let's see here. Quenirland Navy is a fictional navy. Quenirland is a fictional nation of my own creation for role-playing games and miniature war games, like for this game system, Battletech, CityTech, Aerotech, Dungeons and Dragons, you know, Warhammer 40,000. Let's see what other game systems I got. You know, like that. Okay, so these the attacker, defender, and Huntley. I've got I have these are the ships that I designed in the past. On the Goliath I'm going to be doing today. Treat is complicated design. Let's see here. We don't need that. We don't need that. We don't need that. We don't need that. Okay. Okay, let's see here. 3 harbors, 1 naval base, 1 port, 1 coaling station. Total naval vessels 28. I boosted that up a little bit. Wait. Well, that's 12 with yeah, 12 with 3 harbor repairs, 8 with 1 repair, 4, so that's 28. And then there is a merchant dock, and then there's an Orsolano dock, 2, 4, 6. So that's a total of 34. But in terms of warship designs, those additional 6 would not be there unless I do the utility cargo. But I'm not going to do that right now. So that's that. So what's next? We have harbors, a naval base with 15 ships, port with 9, and coordinating station with 4. These are the okay, I do not. Okay, I do not want the repair units to be. And then okay, let's see here. 4 ships. 9 ships. Okay, 8 ships. And then 12 ships. So 4 plus 8 is 12. Plus 12, that's 24 ships for my naval fleet. Ship design, ship design, ship design, ship design, ship design, ship design, ship design. We don't need these. Okay, so we have 9 harbor defense vessels. We have 3 coastal defense vessels. So let's put this on the map. QLS Sandy, naval base, and Sandy is the boss girl. She's very passive about things, but when she plays, she plays for a little bit. In about 5 minutes, she's like, "Okay, I'm done." You know, she plays with a toy, what I call a toy, and they bring in an animal, if they catch something and bring in a house, she'll play with it for 5 minutes and it's dead. So she, when they play fight, the sisterhood play fights with each other. Sandy eventually does the starts biting real hard or scratching real hard, hitting real hard, and say, "Okay, we're done." And Turtle and Tez are like, "I'm out of here." Turtle is the huntress of the group. She catches things more than anybody else. Tez is the most active. She's the one. She's the first one to climb the curtains. She goes indoors, outdoors all the time. The problem is we have a dog who's super friendly and super hyperactive. And cats can't go anywhere without the dog chasing them. So if they go outside, he'll have them running up the trees, whatever. It's really not that good. Okay. So there is that. And then on the back end, we're going to do this. Goliath is a power projection. That's well. The purpose of Goliath is to test out how big is big in the game system. So that's what we're going to be working on today. Let's see here what else we have for data. So the QLS Goliath is our first high seas naval ship design we're working on. Okay, let's see here. Oh, okay, Oh, here we go. Okay, QLS Goliath. Okay. Let's see here, and QLS Tezzy, QLS Goliath, that's not it. This is it. Okay. So this is the coaling station fleet. This is a port fleet. Port data. And this is the naval base. QLS Sandy. Oh, yeah. Okay. So that's the naval fleet, and this is okay. That's the roster, speed, and that's okay, and that's that. So we're going to worry about the costs of that. Well, let me just do, I don't know how much these things cost eventually. So, those are my two example sheets. Yep. Okay, that's harbors. There's the, okay, example. Cruiser. That. Oh, that's an example sheet. Okay, whatever. I'm trying to get my ship data organized here. I don't need the roster anymore. So, okay. First thing we're going to do is, okay, Quenirland Navy, Goliath. Calculation sheet. Calculation sheet, we need this one. Okay, Jesus FLYERS. Quenirland Navy. Naval Warship design. Suggested, not. And then we got the. There it is. This is number 3. Okay. So we go with name. Yeah. We're inking. Type. Flyer. Name is Goliath. This is the purpose of this design, battleship design, is to test the game system mechanics. This is a turret battleship. TBS, and of course me, Stephen T. Quenirland. I've been in Texas since I was 13 years old, which is like 1970. I'm 60. And down here in Texas, because the Mexicans, they look at the QE and go, K. It's actually Qua. KWER is a schwa. Quer. And then it's N. I as an IN, you know. Indoors, you know. Inbox. Quer, N. And it's like, and they go, clean. First thing, every time. So, I was going to say Quenirland. Okay, so they got because now they, there's an E in there somewhere. What's that all about? And whatever. Face. 1, 2, 3. Name. Type. Player. And total cost down on the bottom. Of course, the fini. Okay, whatever. Goliath. Turret Battleship. TBS. And then player. Nope. TBS, the ratings I do, that's from the game system. These are how the Ironclads either flyers rate them, abbreviates them. And then we go with ornaments. Weapon placement. Firing arc. Weight. Cost. Okay, now continue on back. Total costs. Nationality. Class. All size. Length. Ram weight. All costs. Length. Mass. Total ship weight. Raft. Engine size. Engine type. Engine weight. Engine cost. Horsepower. Speed. Movement. Engine size. Ship weight. GW. Speed. All size. Knots. Whole bunker. Yeah. Bunker size. I was thinking armor. Okay, bunker size, bunker weight, engine size. Endurance. Armor. Now you can tell I'm American because I use the OR. British use the OUR. So, but my writing style is not 100% American. I have adopted Spanish. That I do not use the Spanish version of this though. I use the question marks because when I write, and this was true back in my high school days, back in the 1980s, I'd be writing something and I put a question in the middle of a paragraph, and you overlook the question until you hit the question mark, then you go, what? That's a question? And so you have to reread it a couple of times. Oh, okay, I get the question now. So in 84, 85, I started implementing this in my writings. When I can't do the upside down question mark, I will do it, and then like that. But it's, yeah. I also use the mathematical symbols, parentheses, brackets, and braces. In my writings, in my prose writings, my left braces don't work very well. And I was doing this back in my elementary school days, and then during my middle school years, it faded out. Then in high school, around 9th, 10th grade, I started using these again. And then by the time I graduated, they phased it out a little bit. So this comes and goes. But yeah, if you see this is my prose writings, it's part of my writing standard style. And that's not in reference to mathematical issues. It's I use that. I'm not writing trying to do a mathematical formula. Then, well, block A times block B, divided by block C, type stuff. Hold up. So yeah, not that one, not that one, not that one, that one. So okay, armor, total weight. Back in 1984, 1985, I grew up I was 3 years old when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin walked on the moon. So my generation grew up exposed to the metric system. in 1984, 1985, I started doing a lot of designing stuff outside of game systems. I'd be looking at, and I was starting with my Flower Child project, design spaceflight concept, and 85, but so in that time period, in the 84-85 time period, I was looking at, I've been studying military tech, military history throughout my high school years, and in the 1980s. And I was starting to draw designs, military tech vehicles of my own designs and stuff. And I started working on warship designs, weapon layouts and stuff. I've been thinking about that. I started thinking about, okay, do I want to use the English, especially with manned spacecraft design concept that was looming. But even just okay, do I want to go American English system, or do I want to go metric? And honestly, I think the American Standard English is a better mathematics. Because where's my measuring tape? I got a measuring tape right over here. I'll show you. I did a lot of measurements back in those days. I was, let's see here. There we go. Now, you can see, let's see here. Well, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32. Okay. You can see within the first 6 inches, you can measure out 1/64 of an inch. And you can see at the first 6 inches that 1 millimeter is equal to 1.5 64ths of an inch. So, that's on the small side. That's on the small scales. So, we can measure tiny stuff like the thickness of this, or not even that. Little pins. Okay, we can measure that. That's within our measuring capabilities. If you want to measure anything that's under 1 millimeter, you need professional scientific equipment. Commoners like you and me, we're stuck with the metric system. 1 millimeter is it. So that's on the small side. I ran track in 8th grade. And I was the Energizer Bunny. I could run for a mile, rest for a half an hour, and do a 50-yard dash. In still place. So, for me, the 1 mile equals 1,600 meters. Okay, 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. That is, I bet I use that. I was using those measurements when I was in elementary school. So, but then, you know, back in those days, yards was a big deal too. And so I measured feet to yards, yards to feet was, you know, but since I graduated from high school, since my 20s, starting my, you know, when I moved to San Antonio in '86, the usage of yards became a non-thing other than outside of the RPG systems that used yards. So you look at 50 miles an hour. You look at 60 kilometers per hour. 50 kilometers per hour. 50 kilometers per hour is a shorter distance than 50 miles an hour. But 50 miles is equivalent to 62 kilometers. Okay? And you go from, you know, the 1 mile, okay, is 1.6 kilometers. Okay? 10 miles, that's 16 kilometers. 20 miles is 32 kilometers. Now you're going to go with space travel, 100,000 miles. You're looking at, you know, you got to go 3 digits on your metric system just to, you know, also, you know, for accuracy, if you're off by 20% on the metric system, your calculations is used, you know, you're doing calculations like this, and you want to, and your thing is off by 20%, it's a no-go. With American English metric system, it may be a go, it may not be a go. Depending on the tolerances of the project you're working on. So with the metric, so you can go with 2 decimal point places with the American English system, for the most part, especially for commoners like you and me. But for scientific people, you know, you need to go further. And now, like with the metric system, like 1/128th of an inch, you know, that is like 7 decimal places. And you know, the calculation of those is a pain in the rear. You know, American English fraction, you know, is complicated. And I did a lot of that during my high school years, outside of school of mathematics. personal projects, you want to think about vehicle designs or RPG stuff. And then when I came to San Antonio, I started doing Battletech was the first tabletop miniatures game since I was playing. So, even so, the American English mathematics is a pain in the rear, and you gotta check it. But when you're doing it, doing the complication, you're also questioning: is this, am I using the numbers right? Am I using the, is my math reversed? Should the number that I'm dividing by be the one that's being, over here? Like this okay. Okay, like, should this number be over here and this number over there? Okay. When I'm doing math, it's complicated, and I'm thinking this: am I using these values correctly? Am I using the proper values? And instead of when I'm trying to do PWs calculations, am I using the right numbers while I'm actually doing the mathematics? And so it's it's slow, it's tedious, okay. And I'm thinking, okay, and then I'm double checking everything. With the metric system, well, it's all you're just doing is move the decimal over, and real fast, and I make mathematical. You saw me make mathematical errors in the last video. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? I had to change my math formulas to figure out what I did wrong. Turned out I didn't. I only took out 1 0 instead of 3. And so, yeah, it's for me. Then it's more complicated, but you have more time to think about what it is you're doing with your math. Is your numbers right? Is are you doing the mathematical calculation right? You're not speeding through, just trying to get it done. And with metric, you speed right through it. And if you use the wrong numbers, you're not thinking about, oh, I did the wrong numbers. My numbers are wrong. You're too busy doing the decimal places, going through the math, addition, subtraction, multiplication, divisions, and decimal jumps to really think about, oh, did I actually use the right numbers? So, no, ASC is I'm hardcore AFC. And time again, that that's the way it goes. I do metric system mathematics, and it is simpler, but it's not as accurate, and it just does not service me as very well. Now, if you want to talk about liquid measurements, that's a totally different thing. When it comes to electric measurements, metric system rules. But I don't see liquid measurements and metric. I don't see 500 milliliters. I see 20 ounces. Okay. I see 8 ounces, a cup of 8 ounces. I see a half gallon. I see a gallon. Okay, I see a pint. So I don't see 250 milliliters. I don't see 500 milliliters. I don't see a liter. I don't see 2 liters. I don't see 3 liters. When I'm looking at a mass of liquids. So, but and when it comes to liquid measurements, I don't know the conversions. And I don't have the conversion tables. I have folders and stuff that has the conversion table binders that has the mathematical conversions for English to metric, metric to English, ounces, pounds, liquid pounds, solid pounds, solid ounces. They're somewhere, and so yeah, they're and that way, yes, the metric system for the liquid measurements is great, but when it comes to distances, ASC, hands down. Battery armor. Bulkhead armor. Primary turret. Now this warship design will have a primary turret and a secondary turret. So you're going to be seeing this is one example of the secondary turret value going to be used. Value all type size weight number total weight. Secondary turret. Okay. I can't see what's going on there. Okay. So, okay, now, okay. We don't need that anymore. That's not the right one. Bye-bye. Okay, this is needed for later. Nope. 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 Hello. Hello. And nope. 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 Okay. So which one is this? Warship design. Okay. So, how big is big? That is one question that I've been asking almost all my life. I grew up, like I said, with Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin walking on the moon. I grew up watching outer space sci-fi documentaries. Right, correction. Not sci-fi down. I've been watching the first space race era documentaries since I was 3 years old. I've seen a bunch of video footages of Wernher von Braun back in the days when he was in Germany working on the V2 rocket. Videos of him Even I think there was a few before World War II broke out. There's some videos of him prior to World War II breaking out. Robert Goddard. There's another guy that was into rockets. I can't think of at this time. Then also, when he came to America, before there was NASA, him talking about space flight and videos, and he's using his V2 rocket models talking about space flight. And then even when they were doing the NASA program, I've seen him talk about space flight using the V2 rocket and the Apollo CSM-LM spacecraft design and the Saturn V space vehicle spacecraft design. So, Stephen Hawking, Carl Sagan, okay, and there's a couple others that I can't think of at this time. Buzz Aldrin was talking. Even Buzz Aldrin was Dr. Rendezvous. So he developed Buzz Aldrin developed this the mathematics, the science of docking in space. So he has mathematics and stuff associated with space flight and spacecraft design to a certain degree. A lot more than what I have. I'm just a high school graduate. I'm a commoner in British colloquial. Americans don't use that term, but whatever. So they talked about, you want a spacecraft that go, to go this fast. Okay, you need to have X amount of fuel. You need to have X amount of thrust. So you need an engine of X amount of size. You want the spacecraft to go faster. You need a bigger engine. You need more fuel. So, because the bigger engine is going to consume more fuel. You want the spacecraft to go with the given engine size longer. If, for example, you're flying, the engine can fly 15 minutes. You want it to fly for 30 minutes. That means more fuel. You're going to need a bigger engine, and you're going to need a bigger spacecraft. And it's a cycle until you got a spacecraft that's too big to fly. How big is too big? How big is big? How big is too? How big is too big to fly, or how big is big? So I've been asking that question since my elementary school years. How big is big? And in the 1970s, Bruce Lee was there, doing his martial arts thing, and small guys, big guy, so by the time, again, as because of the Apollo 11 mission, I became an outer space science fiction fan. So I started watching Star Trek. I watched Lost in Space, the original series, the second season and third season. My favorite Martian was in its last season. Let's see here, what else? Then Battlestar Galactica came on. UFO came on. Buck Rogers in the 25th Century came on. Then we're talking sci-fi movies from the 1940s to the 1960s. in 1970. Well, the sci-fi movies in the 1940s and 1960s that were in syndication on a TV movie theater slots. You know, The Forbidden Planet, The Day the Earth Stood Still. You know, then you had 2001 Space Odyssey that came out when I was a kid. Silent Running came out when I was a kid. Starbreakers is a TV series. Came out when I was in 7th grade, 12 years old. Then Star Wars came out. And then, you know, Robotech, Alien Nation, the movie, then the TV series. I watched both. You know, so I grew up looking at. I was, you know, I was 2 years old when Apollo 11 occurred, and so I believed it. But I remember the Apollo 1 fire, initial news report of the Apollo 1 fire. And I was too young to understand what was going on. But I became interested in manned spaceflight and spacecraft because of the Apollo 1 fire. And so then Apollo 1A came along, and everybody was talking about the Apollo 1 fire, Apollo 1 fire, Apollo 1 fire. Then they did the Earthrise. They filmed the first Earthrise, and the reading of the Genesis, chapter 1, is like, Apollo 8 is its own thing now. So I always grew up as from age 3, thinking about what do I want, and as spacewalk. And when I was 3 years old, they had these bottle rockets, plastic, white base, and then it had a clear plastic or transparent plastic. The ones we had was red. They came in different colors. And then you had a little pump, air pump thing. It's vertical like this, and then the rocket was like this, and then you pumped it, you know, it's, you know, and then you press the button and the rocket goes off, you know. And so we had that in my pre-K years. So I grew up looking at space, watching outer space science fiction movies. I'd be looking at the spacecraft and thinking, where's the human space? Where's the engine space? And, you know, and then because a lot of the spaceships also had weapons, okay, how much of that area is weaponry? Since my pre-K years. What do I want in a spacecraft? And, you know, back in the 3 to 5, you know, my pre-K years, the Jupiter 2 was one of the things. Starship Enterprise was cool. The Space 1999 came out, yeah. The Eagle class, that was my #1 spacecraft. Now, if you want to talk about spaceships like the Enterprise, and, you know, to get off to get the Eagle class off my #1 favorite spacecraft list, you got to go to the spaceship sites. You got to go to Starship Enterprise. You got to go to Space Battleship Model. You got to go to Battlestar Galactica. You got to go to the Imperial Star Destroyers, Star Cruisers, SDF-1, Macross, you know. You had, you know, Discovery on the, you know, 2001, Valley Forge of Silent Running, the spacecraft and the black hole. Okay, so there, what I'm doing here is I do this all the time, and I love, when I got introduced to Dungeons and Dragons in 1980. Well, I didn't. Yeah, I was introduced in 1980 after I graduated from 8th grade. Went up to Kenosha, Wisconsin, and I missed Gen Con by 1 or 2 days. And Gen Con was located in Lake Geneva, which was closer, more inland, more towards Warsaw, and down by the southern border there, and got the Red Book rules. Came back to Victoria, Texas, and Mom was going Dungeon Master me and my brother. Did not happen. In 1982, so in 1980 she cut out the rule book, the Dungeon Master section of the Red Book rules, and kept it in her purse. In 1982, my brother and I said, okay, we're tired of waiting for you to get Dungeon Master us. So we want the rules back. Okay, that was a miracle and a half. But because her purse was like the bag of holding of not just bag of disappearance, or things disappear in there and then they reappear days later, weeks later. Things get lost in there. A bag of lost items. Or whatever. So my brother and I started playing the Red Book rules between ourselves in 1982. He had some friends that did AD&D, so we started in 1983. He met some guy. Some of his friends came over. Well, one of his friends came over with a Fire Lord from the Legends or not Legends, Deities, Demigods, Native American mythology, and whatever. And then so we started group playing with AD&D in 1983 and 1985 time frame. So between since 1983, I did a lot of generated a lot of RPG characters. I even generated some characters from this game system, 2 or 3. Then I went to, I got Traveler, my brother and I got Traveler, 1980. And then we got Star Frontiers, so I dropped a lot of those characters. Then I got other RPG systems, DC Heroes, Traveler New Era, not the New Era, Mega Traveler, Traveler 2300. There's another one I can't think of. Traveler Twilight or something like that, I think. So then, Battletech, the second edition, had a Mech Warrior role-playing game. Created some characters out of that. And then, and then went from there. This is something I do all the time. Okay, now with this battleship, the biggest ship you can make is total weight is 2,250 tons. Well, mass 90 is the maximum you can have. Mass 90 times 250's tonnage is 22,500. That is the same tonnage as HMS Dreadnought. And so, okay, I'll do the math, just so you can see what that looks like. Zero, zero, 45, 18, 22. Now, drought. It's definitely going to be a deep drought. Look it, or I don't know. So draft is deep. So okay, so what deep draft is equal to what? Let's see here. I got the. I don't need to check that. I got paperwork over here. I need these two sheets again. This is all the measurements that the game system uses. I created those two sheets at the beginning of the video series. So. Alright, here's the deep draft data. Mass is greater than hull size. So that is mass 91 as the minimum. Wrong line. No. Okay, hold on, correction. Okay, is greater than anything that's greater than the hull size. Okay, hull. And then the deepest hull size times 2. Okay, I did this. Mass is greater than hull size. That's the lightest. and mass is less than hull size times 2. No, that's anything greater than hull size times 2. Okay, correction. Mass is anything greater than hull size 2. So, mass divided by 2, 90 divided by 2 is 45. So hull size of 44. It would be 44, okay. Now, I do there is I just said this earlier. You have this mechanic, but wrong vehicle. That's aircraft. That's flyer form. There we go. Each row represents speed reduction. Okay, if you have a speed 5 ship, you lose a row of boxes, is now a speed 4. Speed 3, speed 2, speed 1, sunk. Or, well, yeah. Now, that's whether it's, you got gun damage or flooding damage. It doesn't matter. Once your row of boxes goes bye-bye, you lose a speed. You lose 1 speed point. So, mass divided by minute. Let me get my calculation sheet and okay. So mass of 90 divided by 5 is 1. 18. So that is hull size 18. Now, when we look at these warship, the lists, when we look at this data here, the ships of the world list, when you calculate the hull size and the mass ratio, the largest volume that I could see that I found was 8.5. Okay, mass ratio. Yeah, okay. mass to hull ratio. Eight plus 7. So if you divide by 8, divide by 90, and I did this in the previous videos multiple times, multiple videos. We're going to do it here again because it's part of the battleship design. 1, that's 8. 1, 22, 16. So your hull size is 11.25 or 11. 11 times 8 is 88. 90 subtract 88 is 2. So you have 11. So the actual with the hull size 90, with mass 90, the mass equals 90. Because I need to use your hull is going to be, the hull size is going to be 8 plus 2. So at 90, so you, yeah, so if you want, alternatively you could say hull size alternatively you could say this is hull size 12. So for hull size 12, $250 010 5 052 0003 That's 500. That's not roll. Oh, I'm not multiplying. Okay. I'm doing the ratio, not, okay. 12 and 290. Seven. 14, 8. 60. 5. So your ratio is 7. 12 times 7. 14, 7, That's 84. 90, subtract 84 is 6. So your ratio is 7 plus 6 with a hull size 12. Okay. The mass hull, yeah. So your mass 90. The hull size 12 is a 7 plus 6 ratio. Mass 90 with hull size 11 is a 8 plus 2 ratio. So so the more you have, the smaller the hull, the more you put on it. So, but I'm going to use an 18 hull. Hull size 18. Length is 18 times 50, 0, 40, 900 feet. So now, I want to go into armament, and now I calculate the speed, and then we'll figure out how to rotate that. The biggest, baddest gun you can get is an 18-inch modern breech loading gun. Range is 14 minimum, 14 cables for short range, and 28 cables for long range. That is 3,400 tons. The old low-powered 18-inch gun weighs 2,000 tons, has a range of short range of 9 cables, long range of 18 cables. So we will $18-inch B Weight is 3,400. Let's see here. We don't need pin, we don't need animate. Turret is 8. Cost is $30,000. Let's see here. Pin is 18.9. DV is 20. We're not going to worry about. We're not going to. Range of fire is once every 4 rounds, once every 4 turns. Range is 1428. £2,000 tons. Turret is 8, I think. Right. Turret is 8. Cost is $24,000. Pin is 14.7. Rate of fire is 4, 1.4, 1 every 4 rounds. And range is 9.8. No, 9.8. 9.18. Okay. So let that one Or, not that one. Not one back. Okay, so 3,400. Wait, no, 3,400. 22500. Yeah, okay. 7, 6, 24, 20, 0, 0, 1, 2, so 0, 0, 4, comma 3 times 6, 0, 0, 24, 18, 20. And 22.5 over 2400, 001, comma 2. Okay. That's not going to work. Oh, 13. So we're looking at 4 guns instead of 6 guns. 005, comma 22, 006, comma 31, 009, 8,900 tons to play with. Nope. Zero, 004, comma 3, 008, comma 6, 005, 22, 008, comma 6, 007, 1, and that's 15,700. Okay. We can put 2 of these 18-inch breachers on here. Okay, penetration is 18 and 9. If the armor value of the target exceeds the penetration of the gun, half the gun's value. If the armor value is more than twice the penetration, the gun has no effect. So, if the armor value has so 9 for deck would be full value. Okay. Okay, armor 10 equals half damage. At long range. And we are at 50,000 tons, 50,700 tons. Okay. What does combat work? Fire may take place at the end of each movement phase. Vessels of both players may fire at the end of each movement phase, but each weapon may only fire one time per turn. The type of gun is noted on the box. The number of shots that a weapon may take in a turn is called its rate of fire. Weapons with a rate of fire greater than 1 may take more than one shot in a turn, but all must be resolved at the same time. And all must be directed at the single enemy vessel. A weapon with a rate of fire 3 could fire 3 times in its turn. Weapons with a rate of fire expressed in a parentheses number take that many turns between shots to reload. Thus, a gun with a rate of fire with 2 parentheses can fire on turn 1 and then cannot fire again until turn 4. The chance of a shot hitting is determined by the range at which the gun is fired. The weapons charts on page 104. The weapons charts on page 104 list the short range and long range of a gun and cables. The first smaller number is listed under range is for its close range. Weapons with close range of 0 conduct close range fire only when firing at targets at a range of half a cable or less. So range of 0. Power grapple, okay. See, you got a power grapple, you can chance of collisions. Okay, let's see here. Each shot from a gun hits on a roll 3, 4, 5, 6 at close range, and 5 or 6 at long range. Add 1 to the chance of hitting if the target ship is stationary. Stationary ships include those ships which have had their movement allowance reduced to 0 by battle damage, and ships which are in harbor either at anchor or dockside. If there is a vessel within a half cable or less of the target, roll to hit normally. However, if the shot misses, roll it a second time. If the second roll is a hit, then it hits the other vessel. Okay. If there's a vessel within half a cable or less of the target. Okay, if the shot misses, roll second. Okay, so the first shot will, if several other vehicles are within a half cable of the target, the second roll is made only once, and the hit, if any, is assigned. Okay, that's a typo. They got a space in between there. To one of the vessels by means of a random roll. Small, fast vehicles are more difficult to hit, and to reflect this, many small vessels have a die roll modifier called a target modifier to be hit. This number is added to the required hit number. A ship's target modifier is its speed minus its hull size. All negative values are ignored. No ship may ever have a target modifier greater than 2. For example, if a ship had a target modifier 1, it would be hit by gunfire on a roll of 6 at long range and 4, 5, and 6 at close range. Damage. When gunshot hits an enemy vessel, roll a die to consult the hit location table to determine what type of damage was inflicted. Each gun has a damage value, which is the amount of damage it caused. Okay. Armor and penetration. Each gun also has a penetration value. 104. Oh. Okay, each gun also has a penetration which is important against armored target. Usually the gun has two values separated by a slash. The first larger value is its penetration at close range. The second smaller value is its penetration at long range. If the armor value of the target exceeds the penetration of the gun, half the gun's value. Okay. Repeat. It is more than twice. Okay, for example, a gun with done. Each ship from this armor value of the ships. Ships may have up to 5 armor values: belt, deck, battery, bulkheads, and turrets. The belt is a long, wide sheet of armor that extends along the waterline of the ship. It protects the ship against spoiler hits, magazine hits, and uncontrolled hits, provided the shots were fired at close range by a naval vessel or shore battery. Overall, it protects the ship against all hull hits regardless of range. Some ships are equipped with a short belt covering only midships, which is called a midship belt. This protects against the same critical hits as a full belt, but only protects against hull hits suffered from a 1, resulting in a hit location. All hits result on 2 are not altered from the midship belt and thus have no more effect. Okay. The deck is not the deck of the vessel itself, but instead a layer of horizontal armor roughly placed at the waterline level to stop plunging fire, as from a gun fired at long range or an arrow bomb. It protects the ship against spoiler hits, magazine hits, and uncontrolled hits, provided the shots were fired at long range by a naval vessel or shore battery, or at any range by an aerial vessel. The battery, also referred to as the citadel, is the armored covering of the sides and central superstructure of the ship. It protects against bridge hits and gun hits on any guns located inside the armored battery, unless the hits were the result of raking fire. Raking fire is fired delivered from directly ahead or directly astern of the ship. Bulkheads are armored walls placed at the front and rear of the ship's central superstructure to guard against raking fire. They protect the ship against bridge hits and gun hits on any guns located inside the armored battery. provided the hits were caused by raking fire. Turret armor protects guns which are mounted inside the turret. Machine guns. Roll for hit location once per machine gun, not once per hit. All of the hits caused by machine gun affects the same part of the ship. Machine guns have no penetration and a damage value of P. This means they only affect crew. All hits from machine guns have no effect. Crew hits cause crew casualties equal to the number of hits by the gun. Gun hits against unprotected guns become crew hits. Gun hits against armored guns have no effect. Most critical hits have no effect. However, if a bridge hit is rolled and the bridge is not armored, the hit is resolved as a normal bridge hit with the number of crew casualties equal to the number of hits from the gun. Crew quality, signal communications, deep diving submarines, depth bombs, shore batteries, naval bombardment, unexploded rounds. Let's see here. Some armor-piercing rounds may go completely through lightly armored or unarmored vessels without detonating. Likewise, Martian solid shot will do less damage if it just punches through both sides of a hull than if it hits more substantial resistance. To take this into account, use the following rule. If a ship is hit by a gun which has penetration more than twice the armor value of the ship, roll a die. On a result of 1 to 3, the hit is resolved normally. On a roll of 4 to 6, do the roll. The round passes through the target without exploding. Hit location is still rolled, and the round causes damage, but it is treated as if it had damage value of 1, regardless of its size. Note that rounds which already have a damage value of 1 are unaffected by this rule. Line of sight. Okay. No provisions made in the basic rules for line of sight being blocked by another ship, but a player obviously cannot shoot through an intervening vessel. In a three-dimensional game, however, defining a line of sight often becomes difficult. Okay. When battles take place, they are fought on the battle map using the normal game rules. The initial position of the ships is determined by the direction from which they entered the strategic map. For example, if one side was patrolling a hex and the other side entered the hex from the southwest, that side would would enter from the southwest hex of the map, and the patrolling forces would enter from the opposite side. Either side may attempt to break off the action at any time and retreat. If those forces on one side retreat, if those forces, okay, that's retreats. Weather, repairs, blockade, neutrals, commerce raiding. A player may send one or more ships or squadrons to raid enemy commerce and coastal shipping. Whenever a ship is in an enemy coastal hex, assume that a lone enemy merchant vessel is present as well, and then roll for sighting as you normally would. If the warship sights the merchantman, the merchant is automatically sunk. Whenever a ship is in an enemy coastal hex, okay. The enemy player, however, is immediately informed of the presence of the commerce raider by survivors of the merchant crew and or friendly coastal watchers. Each merchant vessel which is sunk gives the player 5 victory points, which may or may not be important, based on which campaign is currently being played. Amphibious landings, naval bombardment, game length and victory. Each campaign sets out a game length and terms, a variety of objectives, and special victory points awards. At the end of the game, the player with the most victory points wins. Okay, okay, so that's it for the combat rules. Okay. So you roll to hit. Uh, 6 is a critical. Then you roll 2d6. Magazine, water, rudder, flooding. Hull 1 is midship. Okay. Okay, so they don't repeat the charts within the rules. Okay. So, how much time we got? 2 hours and 29 minutes. Okay. Belt armor. Okay, so all right. How big is big? Okay, now okay, how do we want to calculate? Okay, hull size. Okay. Okay. Movement 3. That's knots. $15 to $19 knots. Okay. All size 18. Speed value minus 18. Wait. Speed value is plus 18. engine size, engine weight, coil bunker size, coil bunker weight, endurance. "30 days." So, engine size 23, force drop, is ×5. "115 tons. "23 times 6. Oh, 13. Wait, nope. "23 times 3. 69. 690 tons. Total weight 730 tons. Okay. So, let's see here. Five, two. So PW is 1.202. Maybe that's a 3. Speed 3, yep. No. Okay. Let's see here. $244. This is what the numbers look like. Size 18, 900 feet. Yes on RAM. That's 180 tons. 10 tons per hull. When the hull is selected, the designer also decides whether it would be fitted with ram. If so, the ram weighs 10 tons per hull size. Okay, so, and that's a 10,000 per hull size. So that's 180. $2,000, that's 46,000. Size 23. size 18. Six. No, 6. 69. Wait, yeah, 3. 69. Okay, now okay, there's the sheet. The 60, okay, that's 0, 0, 0, comma, 6, 3, oops. One, 2, 3, comma, 6, 3. That's not right. That's not going to do that. Total cost is $72,000 for the armament. For the time being. Let's see what we got for tonnage. Five, 18, 8, 9. Okay. Eight, 985. Five, 8, 3, 4, 5, 8, 7, 7. So we have available for armament right now, armor. $14,915. Okay. The armor's 10. Hull size 18. And that's 50 tons for deck armor. Okay. That's 900 tons. Oh, we need to make that 14,915. Okay. Let's see here. Let's do a turret armor for 10. All size 18. Type single. size 8, weight. So size 8 times 10, that's 80 times 5, 400 tons. $800 tons. So that is 1,700 tons, which is too much. Nope. No. That's 1,700 tons. Okay, never mind. That's good. Let's go with belt armor. Full belt. 18. Right in. And belt is the first one. The weight of a full-length armor belt is armor value 10 times hull size 18 times, that's 180 times 30. 180 times 30. $5,400. So 0, 5, 4, 0, 0. 0, 0, comma 9, 0, 0. $7,000, okay. Still got another 7,000 to play with. Secondary armor. So battery armor, battery, all size 18. Struck 2 turrets, that's 16. 32 per side. Size 3, gun 6, let's see here. That would give us a size 10, size 9. If we go with corner turrets, that gives us 16 tons. And then we got 9 for close range. Or 10 for half value. Half value at close range. Wow. Let's see what I can do for the armor on that. Bulkhead armor. 180, and then that's another 50 or 30. Or is it 10? 10 times for bulkhead armor. $180, that's 1,000, right? 1,000. 800 tons. Okay, battery weight. That's going to be a nasty combination. armored battery is equal to battery size 3 times 10 is for armor is 30 times 50, that's 51,500. Oh wow. Zero zero 8 comma 7 0 16 8 and 1 is 9 0 14 10. I still have 4,515 pounds to play with. Oh, okay, so total weight is 10,400 tons. Times 100. That's 1,000,000. Zero 40 000. Which is okay. $11,385 tons. Yep. Batteries and bulkheads, I can reduce that. Wait, Yeah. I'll probably reduce that. So $14 is 10-inch guns. We're not going to do that. Wait. And we're going to go with 9-inch guns. Corner turrets. We don't need battery at this time. I don't need a bulkhead at this time. So 008. Zero, zero, 1, 7100. Seven, 100, 5, 8, 0, comma, 8,800. 85. And a 03,400, 03,400, 5, 8, 4, 11, 5, 8, 8, 4, 1. And 22500, 14,885, 5, 1, 4, 6, 1, 7. Okay. So we want manage B. For the 9.5, okay. Weight is 400. Pen is 9.5. Nope. Turret is 4. Cost is $4,000. Pen 9.5. RAF parentheses 1, and then we got range. It's 7 and 14. And then you can go with a 4.7 QLS, or you can go with a 4-inch long. Okay. Okay. $325. I'm running out of memory. The phone's let's do the turrets. These are going, the flying speeds are going to go on the turrets. And we're going to end the video because memory is going to come out. Secondary turret is not is going to be 10. Size is 4. Eight, yeah. Turret size is 4 times 10 is 40. Times size 200 tons. Times 4 for quarter turrets. And it's 800 tons. $790. Okay. $800. Five, 8, 6, 5, 1. There's that. Where did it go? Okay. I'm going into there because they're going to run out of memory pretty quick.